Hi, my name is Gretchen Kelly, and I will be giving an oral presentation today on the last Yellowstone explosion. This topic interests me because I've visited Yellowstone before and I've seen how beautiful it is, and I've always wondered really when will it erupt again, when it would last erupted, and I've always really wanted to understand the volcano that's actually underneath Yellowstone to cause all these beautiful geysers, hot springs, and mud spots. If you're unfamiliar with the whereabouts of Yellowstone National Park, Yellowstone National Park is located in the northwest corner of Wyoming. 96% of the park is located within Wyoming, and around 4% of the park is located in Montana and Idaho. The park is around 3,500 square miles, so it's a really large park and it takes a while to get through. But while you're driving through, it's just a gorgeous area to be around. Yellowstone was established as the first national park of many national parks that are now in America. The national park system is a huge part of America's identity because it's a great way to explore and see the nature of America in a relatively cheap way of just buying park tickets to get in, and they're well maintained, and it's just a great program that America has. The park was first established in 1872 by Ulysses S. Grant as the first national park, and then many followed, such as Zion National Park, the Grand Canyon National Park, Arches National Park. Yellowstone is home to 10,000 hydrothermal features. Hydrothermal features include geysers, mud pots, hot springs, and steam vents. That's one of the cool things about Yellowstone National Park is that in those 3,500 square miles, you can see so many different hydrothermal features. So you can go to one geyser and then just drive a bit or even hike a little bit, and you can see hot springs and steam vents. How Yellowstone has all these hydrothermal features, geysers, mud pots, hot springs, it's because Yellowstone is a volcano, which means that there are so many different geysers and activities within the grounds of Yellowstone. While there are many different volcanoes within the world, Yellowstone is a caldera, which is a volcanic depression type of volcano, which is typically occurs when magnum comes into the surface, and then it carves out space so that the caldera can come in. Calderas are typically round in shape. The caldera located underneath Yellowstone Park is around 35 miles wide and 50 miles deep. This is much larger than what scientists originally thought the caldera was, and it is now known that there are 3 calderas underneath Yellowstone National Park. The caldera was formed millions of years ago with an immense sort of heat formed in the Earth's mantle, known as a hotspot. Around 600,000 years ago, this hotspot pushed towards the surface and caused the crust to push up, creating the caldera that we know today. It is said that the magnum has been underneath the crust for more than 2 million years. So Yellowstone is not a recent thing. It's been around on the Earth for a very long time. Since Yellowstone is such an interesting volcanic form, it has created different type of land masses above the volcano and above the crust of the earth. So it's created mountain forms that are located within the park. It's a small mountain range called the Red Mountains, and there are around 12 peaks within this mountain range. Yellowstone is still an active volcano today. Yellowstone would not have the geysers and the hot springs and all the main attractions that bring tourists to the park if it was not an active volcano. There are still very small earthquakes that happen within the park, and that sometimes freaks out some people. While doing my research, I located a lot of different Q&A posts about if it's safe to go to Yellowstone or when it will have an explosion next, and it's slightly frightening to some people. Since the people that research this and the people that work at the park know that people are slightly frightened by the fact that Yellowstone could possibly erupt at any time, There are a lot of different tracking methods that the scientists are taking in effect, and they have alerts ready and they have action plans so that if for whatever happens, if the volcano does erupt, there are plans for them to take. It's been around 174,000 years since the last large explosion happened at Yellowstone. Scientists believe that this explosion created the west thumb of Yellowstone Lake, which is a large lake located within the park. Scientists predict that the last lava flow in Yellowstone was created around 70,000 years ago. Scientists believe that there has been 3 large-scale explosions in Yellowstone since it was first created. For around 140 years, scientists have been measuring the seismic activity in and around the park. Since they have been gathering this data, they know what to look for and they know when to see data that's not normal. And they know when to look for data that's starting to change in different directions. So at this point, they believe that there is no explosion that will be happening within the next future centuries, since they've been tracking it and understand the data patterns of Yellowstone National Park. While scientists do not believe that there will be an explosion anytime soon, they have been looking at the impact that the explosion would have if it did explode. If Yellowstone did explode, many scientists think that ash would uncover the entire continental United States, which is a vast amount of land and a vast amount of ash everywhere. Here in Lawrence, we would expect to see around 10 to 30 millimeters of ash on our grounds, which is still a lot of ash. If the explosion were to happen, our rivers and our lakes would turn into gray muck. It would not be able to serve us in the capacity that we need them to serve us. Also, all the living animals and creatures within those rivers and lakes and our ecosystems would be either killed or their lives would be dramatically impacted and their habitats would change. The ash would end up probably killing most of our agriculture, especially here in the Midwest, since we are pretty close to Yellowstone, and this would have devastating impacts. Our food supply would be completely cut short, and we would find ourselves in a famine very quickly. So the impacts of Yellowstone erupting are not just in the surrounding Yellowstone areas, they surround the entire United States as well as the world. If Yellowstone did erupt, this would be a huge ordeal, and the world would be forever changed because of it. In conclusion, the Yellowstone explosions will probably not happen within the next century, and it's really something that we don't need to be worried about or really need to be thinking about much in our lives unless you're the geologist that's studying it. And the geologists will be studying it and monitoring it and will inform the public if something is necessary to tell the public.